I'm going to show you today how to install Manjaro, and I'm also going to do a quick review on what I feel when it comes to using Manjaro for the very first time. I'm also going to show you how to at least customize some certain areas of Manjaro operating system. So Manjaro basically is just a short overview. Manjaro is an Arch-based Linux distribution. Okay, so I've already set up my my virtual box or virtual machine. Then I'm also already inserted my ISO file. So I just currently paused my virtual machine from proceeding with the installation. Okay, so I'm going to unpause it this time. Unpause, then okay, so it's already, there's only 2 seconds left. So I'm just going to install it with open source drivers. So the version that I'll be installing uh, today is uh, version one version 21.1.6, I think. Then it's an Xfce for then use it uses Xfce for its desktop environment. Okay. So Xfce is a lightweight desktop environment for Unix-like operating systems. It aims to be fast and low on system resources. So that's actually based on their website. So Xfce is one of those one of those light desktop environments that for Unix-like operating systems. I've already tried installing Xfce before on FreeBSD. Um, so this time it's also it's prepackaged with Manjaro Linux and as well as all other Linux that I have been playing around with. Okay, so I'm also going to show you the link on where you can download Manjaro Linux. Currently, the latest version of Manjaro is Xfce 21.2 RC1. Okay, I'm just going to uh, get also some of the updates so that at least I can show you guys. So this is actually the okay. Let me just take auto resize. Okay, just trying to check first. Huh. Now, I'm already inside my VirtualBox. So we have here the welcome screen. So as you can see, the welcome screen is already open. So let's just try to click launch installer. Let's just try to wait also. So this is the installer of uh, Manjaro. So it's actually nicknamed Pavo 21.1.6. Then okay, I'm going to select American English. Then just you can actually select a bunch of other languages, but in my case, I'm going to select American English. Then let me just try to click next. Okay. So for the region, I'll be selecting Asia since I'm in Asia and I'm also in currently in uh, the Philippines. So it's in Manila. So I'm going to click next. Okay. Now for the keyboard layout, I'm going to select English US. Then just try to select here default. That's for my keyboard layout. Then replace partition, erase disk. I'm going to select erase disk. I don't need to encrypt anything. So I'm just select next, click next. Then I'm going to specify my username, df. Okay, we already have it here. Password. Okay, let's specify the password. Then I don't want to log in automatically, so I'm just going to leave it blank. Then I'm going to select use the same password for the administrator account. So I'm going to have it check, then click next. Okay, so now this is an overview of what will happen once you start the install procedure. So I've already set up my location, my keyboard, and my partitions. Okay, so I'm going to click next install this time. So Manjaro installer is about to make changes to your disk. So I'm going to click install now. Now, if I'm going to install Arch based Linux, one of the things that I've noticed is that I still need to go through the terminal, which is As what I've said, I've been using only Linux for the past couple of months. I'm still not comfortable yet when it comes to installing via the terminal, although I will be learning how to use the terminal to install Linux. Okay, so I'm just going to use I use Manjaro, by the way, since basically it's one of those Arch-based distribution or Arch-based Linux distribution that uses a GUI to install the operating system. Okay, so currently everything is installing. Then this is also an Xfce. So in the desktop environment is Xfce. So there's actually three desktop environments to choose from in Manjaro. So the first one is Xfce, which is what you're currently seeing being installed on one of my virtual machines. The other one is KDE Plasma, and the third one is GNOME or GNOME as they would pronounce it. I would normally have it pronounced silent G. It's GNOME. Okay. Um. So usually, based also on some of the articles that I've read online, a lot of Ubuntu-based users would shift from Ubuntu-based operating system or Ubuntu-based Linux to Arch-based Linux once they're more or less a little bit more comfortable when it comes to using Linux. I don't know why. Maybe there's a reason behind it. I'll try to dig in a little bit more. Why do they shift from Ubuntu-based to Arch-based? So in my case, I'm planning eventually to shift from Ubuntu to Arch-based operating system. So it's also where I wanted my directions to go to. Although currently I'm not yet going to do that, but eventually I'm also going to more or less move away from Ubuntu base. Although I'm not going to fully abandon Ubuntu because that's where I started. But what I'll be doing is I'm just going to more or less try to learn other Linux operating system. Also, one of the things that I really wanted to try is how to install FreeBSD. Although as what I've said, also I've successfully installed FreeBSD before and also installed Xfce, but I'm also planning to use it on a regular basis. One of the most notable difference between Ubuntu and Archbase is the way they would handle their package managers or their packages. In Ubuntu, they would use app dash get or app, whereas in Manjaro or Archbase they would use pacman. Okay, so that's actually one of the uh, main difference when it comes for me, at least that's for me, when it comes to how they would handle their package or how they would install things in the operating system, or how they would install applications uh, via the terminal. Another difference is that Manjaro is a rolling release um, distribution or Linux distribution. When we're talking about a rolling release, it means that the updates are constantly being rolled out. Okay. So example are your Zulus, Manjaro, Gen 2, Endeavor, Black Arch, OpenSUSE, okay, and of course, yeah, Arch. Uh, although um, this one also Manjaro is also an example of a rolling release. It's basically Arch based. Now, Ubuntu, on the other hand, uses canonical, canonical releases. Okay. Um. Okay. Let me just canonical release Linux. Canonical release Linux, which means they would normally try to put. They would normally try to release it on a specific date. Okay. So So we just try to do a little quick research, canonical releases versus uh, so canonical release, I mean, it gives us continuous updates in software development. No, rolling release. I mean, on the other, gives us continuous delivery and software updates. Uh, Point release, or sometimes you would call it canonical release. I read it somewhere. Development model software which must be reinstalled over other previous versions, and they also would try to release it on a specific date. Okay, that's one of its main difference. Okay, an example of this difference would be multiple versions of Ubuntu Linux. Okay. Another notable difference between the two is that um, rolling release will just constantly update the Linux or the software, whereas Ubuntu or what you call point release is that it needs to be reinstalled all over again. So there's a need for us to uninstall or reinstall it all over again uh, to see the difference or to update the system. Those are actually some of its main differences. Although I wouldn't find it cumbersome or I wouldn't have any trouble with it. But of course, some people would really wanted to use rolling release because they don't want to go through the hassle of reinstalling it all over again. Okay, so we're all done. So let's try to select restart now. Okay, we're going to restart our operating system or our Manjaro for the first time. Then let's try to select done. Okay, try to select done. Okay, so let me just try to check also if I remove the disk storage. Okay, so I'm going to remove disk from the virtual. Okay, boot with open source drivers. Just going to press enter. Okay, so reading. Okay, let's try to reset because I actually removed the disk. So just need to reset the machine. And let's just try to wait for a while. Okay, dev sd1 clean files. Okay, so it's currently booting already. Okay, so we have already booted our Manjaro Linux. Okay, this is our login screen already. So we have here our name, df-virtualbox, our English country with country code. We have our shutdown button. Okay, so let's try to log in for the very first time. Let's try to log in. Nice. So we have already installed our very first uh, Manjaro Linux on our virtual machine. The installation took around 13 minutes. That's a lot faster compared to installing Windows actually. Okay, so let's try to okay, let me just try to close this one. Normally, if in my virtual machine, the very first thing that I would do is try to change the resolution. So I'm going to right click here on my desktop. Then, okay, I can't seem to find it. Let's try to click the applications. Then try to look for, try to type display to change the display. Okay, so the default screen resolution is 800 by 588. Let's try to select 1440 by 900. That's what I would normally uh, choose in if I'm using my virtual box. Okay, I'm just going to uncheck all of those things. Scale 1. Okay, apply. Keep this configuration. Okay, let's try to keep this configuration. So, okay, let's try to click close. Let me just try to adjust my. Okay, nice. Okay, so this is already my Manjaro. Okay, desktop. So we have already successfully installed. This is our Manjaro desktop. So let's try to change some. Let's try to customize it a little bit because it's quite simple and it's the default. Everything is default from the wallpaper to the location of the taskbar to the icons. Okay. Let's try to configure it a bit. Okay, let's try to change first the wallpapers. I'm going to right click here on the window or on my desktop. Then we have here open in the window, terminal, desktop settings. Okay, so this is how uh, these are all the different pre-installed wallpapers on our operating system. Okay, so let's try to look for something which is a little bit more. Okay, let's try to select this one. Jaro. Okay, don't want that one. Let me select this. Okay. Uh, or what about this one? Now, another thing also that I've noticed with regards to Manjaro, although I haven't look at other Xfce um, Xfce desktop environment on other operating systems or on other Linux, is this particular feature. So you have changed the background every. So we need to specify the number of minutes. Then we can also specify if we want it in random order. So let's try to select. Let's try to have this one checked. 10 minutes. Let's try to make it every 5 minutes. So what it will do, okay, then select in random order. So what it will do is it will actually change the wallpaper every 5 minutes in random order. So then decide to click close. Okay. Next is let's try to install. Okay. Let's try to install, or let's try to change also the icons. Okay, let's try to install set. Let's try to go to settings. Settings manager. Okay, this one. What I basically do is try to click the applications and we have here. I try to type settings manager. Okay. So these are all the different settings found on our operating systems. About me, appearance. Okay, let's try to select appearance. Okay. These are the different themes that we can do. So let's try to select Adwaita Dark. Let's see what will happen. I'm kind of like I'm actually a dark theme guy. So I'm going to select Adwaita Dark. And then icons, Papyrus Maya. Okay, so let's try to select Adwaita also. Then for the font, then let's try to leave it as is settings. Enable sound, let's try to select enable sound, enable feedback sound. Okay. Um, let's try to click all settings. Try to go back. Appearance. Try to check appearance. Okay, we already did that. Desktop. Okay, or that's where we can change the wallpaper. Go back. File manager. Okay, let's try to select panel. This is actually the panel at the bottom. So we have don't reserve space on borders. Row size and pixel. By default, it's 36. So length, we can also change the length. As you've noticed, we have here 80%. If you want to make it 100, you can do so. 80 is kind of like that. Okay, and then horizontal. If you want, you can have it vertical or desk bar. Try to leave it as horizontal. Automatically hide the panel. Never. Okay, select never. Appearance. Dark mode. Use system style. Adjust size automatically. Okay. Okay, that's what how do we do it. Items. We can also try to add or remove some of the items on our panel. Okay, try to go back. Then make all settings. So it's 80% by the way already. Next is uh, text editor workspaces. Can specify the number of workspaces. Xfce. Try to select window manager. So match as C. If you want to change the manager, let's try to select Moheli. Okay, or let's try to select the default value one. Keyboard, focus, advanced, select back, window manager and tweaks, focus, okay. We can also customize our terminal settings, display power manager. We don't need power manager because we're plugged in. Pause audio volume control, okay. What else? Okay, let's try to use the terminal this time. Let's try to install some applications using the terminal. Okay, let's try to move the panel from at the bottom to top. Properties, expand, transparent, separator. That's how we would normally do it. Close. I have to select other. Panel properties. I have to make it 100. Appearance, items. Okay. Let's say to click. Oh, it's already changed. The wallpaper has already changed. Okay. Say to go to properties again. Expand. Okay. Transparency. Separator. Handle. Say to click close. Panel. Panel properties. We have here. Let's try to unlock the panel so that we can move it upwards. So try to right click here, move. Hmm. Let me just try to show you how to move it upwards. Dark mode, adjust size automatically. I can't seem to move the panel. Anyways, okay. So we have here the handle. All I have to do is just drag it upwards. There. Okay. Then I'm going to panel preferences. Then I'm going to select lock. Okay, as you can see, the handle is also removed. So if I were to unlock, the handle is present. If I were to have it checked, handle is present. Okay. So try to leave it as is. Okay, close. Um, Next thing that we can do. These are minimize windows. Okay. Now let's try to add. Let's try to use the terminal this time. Let's try to make the font a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go to terminal. I can also do it here via the applications. Let's select here settings, settings manager. Then we have here Xfce terminal settings. Okay, so colors, general appearance. Okay, for monos, this is its default. But I selected appearance. Under appearance tab, I have here. Um, this is my font. So I'm going to select, make it a little bit smaller. Select, then close. So as you can see, the font on my terminal is a little bit smaller than what it used to look like. Okay, let's set this like ls sudo pacman the set to install blank dash s. Yes. Oh, no, I forgot. Sorry. Okay, so specify the password. Okay, set to install blank. Okay, pending keys. Proceed with installation. Yes. Okay. Now, try to run Plank if it's possible already. Okay, so we already have Plank here at the bottom, but what we wanted to do is every time we try to open our window, or we try to log into our window, is Plank will also be set to, uh, Plank will also be turned on, or will also be launched. Okay, so I try to close. Okay, try to go back here. Try to select for startup session and startup. Okay. Application auto start. Decide to add an application. Decide to select type blank. Then for the command, let's just try to type blank. That's it. Then close. Okay, decide to reboot. Reboot now. Sudo. Okay. Try to reboot if it's going to work. Let's just try to wait for a while. Okay, it's still loading. Currently, it's reading the hard drive. Okay, let's try to specify the password. Okay, so as you can see, the plank is already launched. Uh, you have it here at the bottom. Um, okay, let's try to add some more applications. Uh, so that's it. So we have it here at the bottom. So let's try to add Thunar root. Okay, sudo pacman. Maybe let's try to add neo vim. Yeah, let's try to add new fetch dash s. Display image alpha. Okay, so I have to check if it's going to launch new fetch. Okay, so we have it here, new fetch. Now, what we also wanted to do this time is every time we try to launch our um, terminal, is new fetch will be launched as well. So, nano rc con. It's bash rc. Sorry, so we have it here, bash rc. I have to put it here at the bottom. So, let's try to put a comment. Um, launch new fetch every time terminal is launched. Okay, try to type new fetch. Try to save. Okay, decide to check if it's going to work. Boom. Okay, there it is. So that's it. Um, decide to check also if if htop is installed. Htop, oh, the htop is already installed. So that's it. Try to close. Sudo. So another application, sudo pacman. Try to install new vim. Yes. Try to wait for a while. Okay. Um, and vim. Okay, so it's already okay. Okay, another one is Ranger. So I have to install Ranger. Sudo /s. Yes. Ranger. Okay, so we already have our Ranger. Then last is we have sudo. No, it's not sudo app. Sudo pacman /s. Yes. This will take quite a bit of time. Okay, so we'll try to check. Stilix. Okay, so try to look at this. And also try to change the transparency or opacity. Click here, preferences, default color transparency. There. Right here at the bottom. Stilix. Exit. Okay, so basically that's it. So we already successfully installed some applications on our Manjaro, as well as try to configure simple things such as the desktop, the background wallpaper, and we also installed Blank at the bottom and some other applications via the terminal. So eventually I'll be shifting to Arch-based distribution, but as what I've said, uh, maybe one of these days I'll be shifting totally. But I won't be forgetting where it all came from, which is Ubuntu-based operating systems. Okay, so thank you guys very much for listening. Be safe always, and God bless.